Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, Bryce Simon and I are going to discuss the Oklahoma City Thunder being one win away from the NBA title following a massive Jalen Williams Game 5. Let's talk about it. But first, we'll hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What's this gonna be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? Another good game tonight. Sometimes I find myself going, I'm kind of ready for the NBA season to be over. I wouldn't hate being able to just chill a little bit and not have games to talk about or watch or whatever. And then I also hear you say one more game potentially is all we have left. And it's a little bit sad that we're less than a week away, no matter what, from closing the books on this 2024-25 season and potentially just 3 days away. But we had some fun performances tonight on Monday night to talk about for the winning team, especially. But one guy at least on the losing team we'll talk about and give a little bit of flowers to.
Definitely. I thought Siakam tonight was incredible. And I thought the TJ McConnell tonight was actually enormous as well. So it's going to be more than one, but this has to start with Jalen Williams to me.
Absolutely.
I think that this is my favorite game any player has played in the playoffs this year. And it's not because it's the best game any player has played in the playoffs this year necessarily, although it's certainly very high up there, I would argue. The reason that I think this is my favorite game any player has played in the playoffs this year is the way that it started for Jalen Williams.
Yeah.
He really struggled to create his own shot early on in the game. I think I counted 4 or 5 missed shots, missed a couple of middies in the first quarter, missed a 3 in the first quarter, missed a drive at the rim. I can't remember if he got blocked or whatever. But what did he do? He worked his way into the game purely with off-ball movement and defensive energy and back cuts. I think I counted that he scored 5 times alone in this game off of back cuts toward the rim. It was such an impressive, sharp way to work your way into the basketball game when you didn't have it going early. And that worked his mind into the game. And then once he started to get a rhythm from making those shots at the rim, then you started to see the rest of it kind of snowball down. And he really got going there, especially in the third quarter. I think that's why this is one of my favorite games of the playoffs, because there was adversity early on, and then he just figured it out and figured out how to play and just went for it and dominated.
It's good that you brought up the off-ball movement because I had that as well, specifically with him and kind of OKC in general, right? One of the stats that came out of Game 4 was the Thunder's 10 assists or whatever. They had 23 tonight. Shea had 10 assists unto himself in this game. I think maybe, did we hit the number? We had to have been close. He may not have got there with the rebounds for our bet.
It was 42 and a half, and he ended up at 43. And then what did we had to have gotten there with TJ, because TJ was awesome tonight. And then we had free throws for J-Dub, and J-Dub got to the line way more often. I think he made 9 free throws.
9 of 12. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
nailed it.
Yeah, because Shea, Shea's going to give you 30. That's just what he does. He didn't give us the 5 rebounds, but he made up for it with the 10 assists. So really, really good bounce back for him. Here's what I love about J-Dub is I feel like he's taken some heat throughout the playoffs, sometimes unfairly, sometimes fairly after the Game 6 game against the Nuggets, right? But I say this all the time. It's been a common theme for me coming on these episodes. I love when players and teams respond. And just looking at J-Dub's continued growth throughout these playoffs is really, really impressive. And I don't think this would surprise anybody, but you look at a lot of Oklahoma City's losses, And there are games where he didn't play well, or at least at the very least wasn't efficient. And so it just tells you how important he is to this team. And the fact that they are on the brink of an NBA championship speaks to how good he is, because when he plays well, they win. And I know SGA is the engine, but I don't know, Sam. I thought J-Dub was the best player on the floor tonight for either team. And Shea had some good defensive plays as well, but I thought start to finish, Dub was just unbelievable. He had a ball screen nuance tonight that was like, oh my gosh. Like, it was just ridiculous with what he's able to do in ball screens. And some of his finishing, he has some really creative, like, scoop finishes and high glass and stuff like that.
He's awesome with the one-handed gather stuff. Really sharp.
It's not just a scoop, it's the one-handed gather. That's right.
Yep, the snaking and like the Euro step into making shots at the rim. He has a lot of different tools in his toolbox to be able to get all the way to the basket and then finish effectively. He has the super long arms as well. Just obviously, like, genetically, he was gifted with this ability to finish at the rim in such a unique way that, yeah, I am a huge fan, as people know. I mean, I remember, last year that Jason Timpf and I did a thing where we tried to predict like the next, all-stars in the NBA, like players that have never made an all-star game that, are going to make an all-star game. My first pick was Jalen Williams because it was just so obvious to me that you could see where this is going for him. He goes tonight, just to read off the stat line, 40 points on 25 attempts from the field, 14 of 25 from the field, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 turnover, 9 of 12 from the line. Just completely dominated this game.
Can I ask you, do you think Indiana needs to change the matchup? Like, we both are huge Aaron Nesmith fans, but do you try Siakam on him? Do you try something? I mean, I know what I would do. We're going to talk about the ball screen coverage from Indiana and why they continue to go over the top from 45 feet. Like, I respect a lot of the things Indiana does. So when I question something like that, Sam, I try to go, okay, what am I not seeing? What am I missing? What would be their response to me if I said, why are you going over the top on a SGA screen at 45 feet? I don't have the answer. I would love for somebody to explain to me why you simply don't go under in that scenario. We talked about doing it with J-Dub. Is it that? Would you switch the matchup? The thing is, it's tough to switch the matchup against the 2 big lineup because now Nesmith has to go guard Chet, or maybe that's what you do. Maybe you put Nesmith on Chet and see if he survives there. Do you think Siakam would do a better job on J-Dub? Because that's what's really destroying them right now. Shea's going to go get 30. It's Dub that's really hurting them.
I wouldn't switch the matchup. And the reason I say that is twofold. Siakam has been so huge for them in help defense.
That's true. It's a great point.
Like, him being able to cut off different lanes, him being able to help off of Chet, and them still being able to get out to like a contested shot on Chet if he's open from 3. Chet made one of those tonight from 3 from the corner. But Siakam is so huge for them, being able to like stop them getting all the way to the rim. Obviously, they've gotten to the rim successfully in the last 2 games, particularly, but like, I think it'd be even easier for them. The second thing is that Siakam's fine as a ball screen defender. I don't want to make him fight over the top of ball screens all game, especially if that's going to be their defensive strategy. Is going over the top of ball screens like this, especially given that he's really their only like offensive, weapon in the starting lineup right now. In the
starting lineup,
create his own shot, because of where Hallie is with his right calf seemingly. So I don't know, man. Like, I think that they're probably doing the right thing. It's just that, again, like, we forget this, because we have like, pigeon-sized brains, but like Nesmith got hurt at the end of the Knicks series too. And he's probably not 100% right now either. And yeah, he's getting crushed by J-Dub, who's an all-NBA player, but I don't know that they have a better option now either.
No, it's all fair. It's just something I wanted to throw out. I wasn't trying to take shots at Nesmith. I'm a huge fan of Nesmith. It's just like, we've kind of had these conversations. We had the conversation about how Shea attacked him at the end of game 4 with the switches. And then now Jalen Williams goes crazy tonight. And I just wondered if I'm curious if there's something they can change up, if there's something different they can do matchup wise, or do you just stay with it and hope maybe you contain him? I still think that the under the ball screen is something I would love to see them try and go from there and hope, because you can see both of their energy levels, just like their eyes light up whenever they get a ball screen and they over it. Both of those guys, and it's so far away from the rim, Sam, that it's Miles Turner, even Obi, Tony Bradley for minutes tonight, trying to defend in space where Shea and J-Dub can snake, they can come back, they can kick it if they draw help. And I just feel like it's putting the Pacers defense in a way tougher situation than it needs to be.
Could not agree more. I mean, the first set of the game was like a Hartenstein cross screen for Shea to come across the set up to the opposite wing, and then just goes and sets a ball screen for J-Dub. I mean, the other thing that Indiana's doing with ball screens is like they're blitzing a little bit more consistently than what they were early in the playoffs or in the series, or they're like playing at the level with Turner. And it's just like, guys, like Shay's going to turn the corner on him. Like there's just no question about that.
There was one tonight where Toppin was like, so at first I was not going to critique it as hard because I thought they blitzed it, and then they showed the replay and Toppin was there. He was just kind of showing, but then he dropped out, and it was like, well, it barely slowed Shea down, and I think it ended up in a driving kick 3 for somebody, probably Wiggins or Wallace. But it just, I'm a little confused by some of the ball screen coverage decisions from the Pacers, is what I would say.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm also very confused by some of those decisions as well. And we've been talking about this like for the last 3 games as well, realistically. Look, to me, when I watch Indiana right now, and this is a credit to Oklahoma City as well, because they do this to you as well. But Indiana's played some tough series in the playoffs to this point as well. They just feel like a team that's like kind of beat up, honestly, and has had to fight through some stuff and has had to deal like with Halliburton with his calf and Neesmith with whatever's going on with his ankle, if I remember correctly. And then Turner again, like is still not moving super well. I feel like when he's out there, and Jarris Walker obviously is hurt right now. Tony Bradley just got back. Like it just feels like they have a lot going on injury wise right now. And look, we picked Oklahoma City to win this series straight up as well, but it's worth noting that Oklahoma City, I think, deserves credit for wearing a team down during the course of a series too. They're super physical. I thought tonight they came out with a real purpose and energy, intensity defensively. That is the reason why they struggled immensely to initiate offense. The Pacers did. I mean, another game where the Pacers have 22 turnovers tonight. Siakam has 6 of them, including 2 in the first 4 minutes. Nembhard has 4. Halliburton has 3. McConnell has 3. Like they just really, really struggled with the ball pressure from Oklahoma City. This is what Oklahoma City does to you, though. They continue to pressure you and they wear you down. Like Indiana right now, I think is another team that played the wear down their opponent's game in the playoffs. I just think that with how injured they are right now, they can't really do that, especially because Halliburton is clearly not remotely 100%. I mean, he has ice on his calf. It was funny. Like Sean's reported, per sources, the calf, he has a calf injury right now. It's like, we can see the ice on his calf. It's right there for us. We got it.
Yeah, it was. I was like, it seems like everybody kind of knows, but Nembhard made some really rough passing decisions tonight. It wasn't his best night, and we give Indiana credit for relentlessness and pace, and like you said, wearing you down. And I think even I forgot a little bit that OKC is doing the same thing back to you, right? And sometimes that plays out in your favor, and sometimes it doesn't. And eventually, or it shows up, and eventually it was going to show up, but sometimes it takes a little while. And I think that OKC physicality and energy, and again, depth, right? We talk about Indiana's depth all the time. TJ McConnell this, and Obi Toppin, and Benedict Mathurin. Well, guess who showed up tonight for the Oklahoma City Thunder? Good thing I don't coach them, because I would have had Aaron Wiggins and Cason Wallace and playing a 6-man rotation. And those guys came in tonight, and you said it. You said Aaron Wiggins shoots the ball too well not to have him on the court. He made shots tonight. And Cason, I want to give Cason a quick shout out here, Sam, because when Indiana cut the lead to 2 off a Siakam offensive rebound and catch and shoot 3, everybody will remember that SGA and J-Dub eventually took over, and they did. But immediately following that, the Thunder actually missed a shot, and Cason Wallace comes up with the offensive rebound, finds J-Dub, or eventually gets to J-Dub, and it's a 3-pointer that answers the Siakam 3, lead back to 5, and then Wallace goes the other end, forces a turnover, gets a steal, and a transition bucket up to 7. And I wanted to give Cason some love for that, because we have been hard on him, or called out.
Yeah, totally.
Hasn't made threes in this series. I think his first one was in this game. Just the production in his minutes, and he showed up in a huge way tonight, and especially doing little things like that, like winning plays, whatever coach speak you want to use. So I wanted to give Cason some love right there.
Look, Oklahoma City doesn't win this game if Cason and Aaron Wiggins don't drill 7 threes between the two of them. You know what I mean? Like, if they make 3 of them, that's enough to where Indiana's in this game. You know what I mean? So I think that's a critical thing, even beyond Cason's continued efforts defensively. He's awesome on that end. We know that he's going to bring it every single night, but the offense was huge tonight. Getting, a team that really has struggled to score bench points. They have 27 bench points tonight, and while Indiana still outscored them from the bench because McConnell and Toppin had 30 between the two of them, it was close enough to where they were able to stem the tide with how good their starting lineup has been. And again, the whole purpose of us saying that they should go back to the 2 big lineup the entire time was to even out the rest of their rotation. It felt like when they went to the Chet starting lineup with Hartenstein coming off the bench, that their rotations were just off. Like, for whatever reason, it felt like those guys just weren't super comfortable with how things were kind of coming at them in the minutes that they were coming into the game. And with Hartenstein starting in the game with Chet, even though he plays somewhere between 3 and 5 minutes before leaving the court, it seems like it just keeps their rotations in order in a way that they weren't previously.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to put in my notes, I forgot to write it down, but this kind of jogged my memory that it did seem like Dagnall had his rotations on point tonight. Now, it helps when Cason comes in and makes shots and is making this defensive disruption, and especially one of them. This is the little differences in success and not. We've talked about how he's been taken advantage of in terms of mismatches, right? Well, tonight, Turner gets him on a post-up. Wallace fights around, gets a steal. So instead of another Turner catches, gets a bucket, man, Cason can't handle the mismatch, the switch, it's a Cason steal, we're going the other way. And it's just, those are the finite differences between staying on the floor, making a positive impact versus being a negative impact. And yeah, Chet was 1 of 3 again from tonight. Shea was 0 of 3. Caruso was 0 of 3. Obviously, J-Dub finally made some threes. And I actually thought Dort had a pretty solid, quietly impactful game with offensive rebounds, defensive disruption, some stuff like that. You look at the box score for Dort, and it's 9-8. He filled it up, but there's nothing that just wows you. I just kept thinking he made impactful play. He even had a big 3. He banked it in, but it was an answer 3. And then he had one late that almost was the dagger. Neesmith actually came right back down and made another one. I thought Dort was really good, though. I thought he had a really good impact.
Dude, I'm so glad you brought up the offensive rebounding. The biggest reason why Oklahoma City won this game, outside of probably J-Dub to me, was they just dominated the possession battle. Completely dominated the possession battle. Again, 12 more.
I didn't realize how many offensive rebounds they had. Wow.
Yeah, 12 more field goal attempts, 2 more free throw attempts. They turned the ball over 11 times to Indiana's 22 times. They grabbed 19 offensive rebounds. I thought Hartenstein completely dominated the glass tonight.
Yeah.
Be it either boxing out on the defensive end, getting contested rebounds on the defensive end. He only had a couple of those, but like I felt like his presence in there was huge on the defensive glass. The other guy that like, you brought up Dort's offensive rebounding. The other guy we have to give flowers to is Chet. I mean, I had a college coach that I'm friends with, like a really high level, like high major head coach, text me like the thing that you missed talking about in game 4 was Chet's offensive rebounding. Yeah, like after I had gone back and watched game 4, I completely agreed with him. I even texted him. I was like, yeah, you're 100% right about this. Massive again tonight. He had 5 offensive rebounds. He had 6 defensive rebounds. He had 9 points. I thought he was a monster in this game. He was so good defensively. If you look at the way that he just cuts off angles positionally, if you look at the help defense rotating over, he had that massive block on Siakam. He had a huge block on Turner in the first half. Every single place that the Pacers wanted to drive, every single area where the Pacers wanted to try to get into the paint and get paint touches, it felt like the Thunder were just able to swarm them as they got into the paint. And I thought Chet was the biggest reason why. It just felt like they were never easy. It was never easy for them to get into the paint. It was because he's always available there. And I mean, look, again, to me, going to the 2 big lineup kind of allows for even more of that with Chet. And allows for that. Like if Hartenstein is in the ball screen, you can just have Chet go and deal with that, right? And he can do the Siakam stuff. Like this is the ultimate. And by the way, like with Chet as well, I thought that tonight they came out and let him switch defensively, right?
Yeah.
Like this is an adjustment they made mid game 4. Like they were totally comfortable with him switching against Halliburton defensively in this game. And they were just like, yep, go ahead. We don't think Halliburton, be it his calf, be it whatever, we don't think he can beat Chet. And Chet was amazing in switch coverages as well whenever he had to guard in ball screens. So like, this was I know he had 9 points and 11 rebounds and 3 blocks and went 4 of 15 from the field. I thought Chet was a killer tonight.
Yeah, I thought the defense was superb. Offensively, the offensive rebounding was obviously huge. He started off pretty good. I had the highlight reel like over his head finish or whatever, and then he made the 3. Yeah. The rest of the offense was a little rough. Like, it seems like he's lost I don't know. I'd like to see him take a couple more stretch threes and some of the stuff off the bounce, but he makes up for it with everything else he does. Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up the switch state because the thing is, I think Indiana's running out, especially with the Halliburton injury or whatever. They're just kind of running out of options to go to offensively. I mean, it's amazing. Like they lost by 11 and in some ways it wasn't that close, as close as that. And I'm still like, I don't know what to say. Siakam's the only advantage they have right now, in my opinion. And McConnell, like OKC can't keep McConnell out of the lane, which is absolutely crazy. Siakam, I thought, had a really good 2-way game, but a large part of, like you said, is Chet, the multiple defenders that they can throw at people, the matchups, the rotations, the closeouts, all of that. I was looking here through the team stats, and one thing we came into this series talking about, Sam, was turnovers and points conceded off of turnovers. And even in game 1, we talked about how even though Indiana had a ton of turnovers, the points conceded off of turnovers was relatively close. Tonight, that was not the case. The 23-11 turnover difference played out in 32-9 points conceded off of turnovers, and OKC outscored Indiana in fast break points.
That's pretty wild. That's really wild, man. Like if you think about that, man, that's hard to
because remember
fathom a little bit.
Coming into the series, Indiana was the best team in the playoffs in points conceded off of turnovers. Not by a lot, but they were actually a little bit better than OKC. And it was like 13 or something like that. And they gave up 32 tonight.
That's crazy. It's genuinely crazy that we're here. I mean, like Caruso was a monster on defense tonight. Just they completely, like, swarming is the right word to me. They completely swarmed them every single time. Every single time.
Well, so here's the difference. It'd be interesting to know what like the ratio was for some other games. Of the 22 turnovers, 15 were steals, Sam. So like when we talk about live ball versus dead ball turnovers and stuff, a steal is going to be a live ball turnover. Every Thunder starting player had at least one steal, and then Caruso and Kaysen off the bench had 4 each. So they got 8 steals from their bench. And by the way, 12 blocks to go along with all of those steals. 27 stocks tonight for the Thunder. That is, to your point, very much swarming defense.
It really is. Nate Duncan just had a stat here on Twitter. Removing Magic Johnson's 1989 game in the finals where he left after 5 minutes. Tyrese Halliburton is the first all-NBA player to miss every shot he took in an NBA Finals game since 1958. 1958, Bryce. Look, he's hurt. Like,
yeah,
I'm not sitting here saying that, it's Halliburton's fault that we're here. You know what I mean? But it is to the point, though, where I don't think they can win if he's at this level.
Agreed.
Is the reality.
Yeah.
That's what makes it hard. Before we move on here, we got to shout out our friends over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money, sports, action. Do you know, Ball? There's only potentially one game left in the playoffs, and the championship is officially on the line. That means time is running out for you to put your final takes to the test when it comes to basketball on PrizePicks, but time is never running out to be able to actually put some money on the line with PrizePicks. This year's basketball playoffs are headed toward crowning a first-time champ. On PrizePicks, you can mix and match player projections from different sports. Combine your favorite basketball players with players from baseball, hockey, esports, and much more. Every Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts several projections on the board, usually by 15% to 25%. Fridays are Flex Friday. Make sure you opt in there and tap the checkbox in your lineup builder to be eligible for the protected play. Choose squares from any game on the board. If your lineup does not win, you get your net losses back in promo funds up to the promo limit as soon as the lineup settles. Tonight, we're going to go with a Pirates-Tigers special tomorrow in baseball. If there's one team I know, it's the Pittsburgh Pirates. If there's one thing I know, they only have 2 guys who can get on base. It's O'Neal Cruz and Nick Gonzalez. Nicky G and O'Neal Cruz. They're the only 2 guys that I trust in that lineup right now. We're going to take over half of a base for each. They just have to get on base at some point in the game. I don't know if I fully trust this for what it's worth. This is a bad Pirates team, guys. It's a real bad Pirates team. But the thing I do trust, it's a bad Pirates offense, I should say. The thing I do trust in that vein is we are going to go Casey Mize over 4.5 strikeouts in that game tomorrow, because if anybody can strike out, it is this Pittsburgh Pirates team. I think the Cruz and Gonzalez get on base. Shout out Nicky G. But Casey Mize is going to dominate them probably, because that's what the reality is. Hey, we got one last night, or we got one tonight, I mean, with Shea, J-Dub, and McConnell. Let's get another one with the Pittsburgh Pirates tomorrow. Probably losing to the Detroit Tigers. Tigers are dominant, by the way, Bryce. I know you're a massive baseball fan, Bryce. So
I watched baseball tonight. The
Did
ball,
you?
It was getting hit off a tee, and then you run to first base. There's no outs, and they got popsicles after the game was over.
I love it so much. Download the app today and use the code Game Theory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use the code Game Theory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Okay, so let's talk about the rest of the series here. Do we think this is done?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to count out the Pacers because I have more respect for them than that.
Yeah.
But I go back to the same line. I've believed in this OKC team since before the season, during the regular season, going into the playoffs, going into the series. I don't know what's happened, especially after tonight and Halliburton's injury, that makes me think that even if they lost game 6, they wouldn't win game 7. And so, I mean, I guess if you're asking me if it's over in terms of if Thursday night's going to be it, I wouldn't say that as confidently. I still think the Thunder win the series, and I wouldn't be shocked if it's game 6 because of Halliburton's situation. I'm struggling to find the path to a Pacers win, even at home. I think OKC will have the right mentality going on the road to try to close that out.
It really comes down to if Hallie is healthy
I
in
agree.
any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Like, if he's not, tonight he genuinely looked like he was gutting it out and was playing at like 60%.
Sure.
I thought. If he's at like 90% after a couple days off, like if he wakes up and it feels good, like for whatever reason, I think they can definitely win game 6. Like,
I would
for
agree.
sure.
Yeah.
If it's like the same as it was tonight, I don't think they really have a shot, because this is just the worst team to have to play when he's not at his best. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say real quick too is we've talked mentality with Halliburton at times. Injuries can mess with people's mentality. And so like a guy who at times, I think it's fair to say we would like to see be more aggressive, especially for his own scoring. When you're playing through an injury, that could make that even worse. Like it could make him even more of a distributor, where in that scenario, it's like, okay, yeah, he's 85%, but we're getting the 10 field goal attempts and 9 assists Halliburton, not the 17 field goal attempts and 12 assists Tyrese Halliburton. And I think they need that Tyrese Halliburton to go ahead and finish this thing off. I guess extend it to game 7.
This is my thing. Like, even tonight, from like a mentality perspective, like, you know, completely agree with you. But like, do you think he would have been capable of attempting like was he capable of creating 15 good looks tonight against that defense?
I don't think so. I was going to ask you this. Is there, let's say he's 70%. Okay. Is there a world where you can play him in a different role and use him that way? Like just use his floor spacing. Because what I did think he did tonight was turn down a couple catch and shoot opportunities. Like I wouldn't expect him to shoot like this step
like,
back.
So like Bryce, like you've gone through this, like
I
physically.
Have. Correct.
Like it completely throws off your rhythm when you have like a lower body injury, like a lower leg injury like that. As a shooter, I mean, like let alone, you know, as a point guard who's like trying to push off of that leg constantly and like make plays. Like it fucks with you as a shooter too.
It does. And that the part I struggle with was I was so slow to begin with and did so little off the bounce. The ACL didn't affect my game in that way, but the trust factor matters a lot. And like trusting, planting, you know, footwork, all of that stuff, energy, like getting your energy into it, the landing, like I tore my ACL landing on a foot, like whatever. So it's like, every time I went to land, it was like, okay, is this going to be okay or not? So, and over time you get over it. Well, I had time to figure that out. Tyrese Halliburton has 3 days and he's playing in the effing NBA finals. You know, the pressure difference there is quite significant. And so, yeah, that's what makes me nervous with this is, you know, what can we get from him? And it sucks because this series has been incredible and he's had some huge moments. And I don't want it to be a thing where it's like, man, OKC goes in there and Indiana fights hard, but they just don't have the high end juice to really keep it competitive, because this has been so much fun. And it sucks for Tyrese because he's going to get called out because people like to pile on with him. And this right now doesn't seem like something he could help. Like, I don't know what he was supposed to, what do people want him to do tonight? I know people were like, sit down. I'm like, really? We want just, I don't know. It's a tough situation.
It's a really, really tough situation to me. I don't think that they can win if he's not at least 85 to 90%.
I
And
think I
I
agree.
just tonight I didn't see that. I hope that I do see it in game 6
Yeah.
is what I would say. It's just really, really difficult for them to create any offense. And you bring up the idea, can he play off the ball? Right. Well, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I don't know that I've seen like Nemhard, play all that well on the ball since game 1, if I remember correctly, was the one where they shifted him off the ball and he played really, really effectively. He has to guard Shea. Like, he's dealing with all sorts of shit on the other end. Like, and again, credit to them. Like, that's how you wear dudes down, is like you run Shea off of all these crazy off ball actions, right? It gets tiring. Like, maybe you can run TJ out there a little bit more, but I mean, dude, like I love TJ. Shout out Chartiers Valley. I got it right last time. We'll shout it out again. My beautiful Pittsburgh brother, TJ McConnell. But like, he was amazing tonight. He had 18, 4 and 4, but I mean, can they beat Oklahoma City if TJ McConnell's their starting point guard?
Well, and the issue there is then you're going to play super small, because you put TJ on Shea, and like it's the same thing with Nimhard, and so that's what's tough as well. Like I don't know, maybe you can facilitate.
You put TJ on Dort is what you would do, but yeah,
and then just play all of them together. I don't know. Maybe they can run more stuff through Siakam. Maybe like that's it. Like just throw it all on his shoulders on the offensive end. Hope you get a bin math game or something like that. I don't know. I've said this. We've said this throughout the whole series, throughout the whole playoffs. All NBA Tyrese Halliburton gives this team a chance to win an NBA Finals. Anything less than that, I don't believe in it as much in terms of the high-end NBA Finals outcome. And whether that was Tyrese's mentality over a few games in the series, or unfortunately what we're talking about now, anything that limits that is a major issue it would be for anybody, Sam. It's not a Tyrese or a Pacers flaw. Any team needs their best player to play at an all NBA level for them to win a championship. And unfortunately, it's a little bit scary right now if he's going to be able to do that for a game 6 and a game 7 after what we just watched.
We got to shout out our girl, Kirtika Utaya Kamar, who Bryce shouted out on the show.
She has the best stuff.
Episode.
She's like my favorite follow on Twitter and Blue Sky right now. She has amazing stuff right after the game is over.
Genuinely amazing. So I was going to ask you the question.
Okay.
Is there any way that J-Dub can win finals MVP for you?
My gut reaction is no.
Part of the reason that my immediate reaction was, wait, there might be a world here. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has his 15th 30-point game of the playoffs, the most by any player in a single postseason since Kobe Bryant in 2009. Guys, I think Shai is winning this thing if they win it. This is going to be Shai. I'll put it up on the screen so folks can maybe follow her. Yeah, she's had some really fun stats.
It's been amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, really, really, I think that this is probably Shai's at this point. Yeah, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 15th 30-point game of the playoffs, most by a player in a single postseason since Kobe Bryant. She also had an other one.
No, yeah, read the other one. 3 minutes later, it gets better.
Yeah, so, that wasn't even the one I was going to read out. So she had one. The Pacers have lost back-to-back games for the first time since March 10th, 99 days ago. They're down in a series for the first time this playoffs. The one that I liked the most, and again, shout out to her finding these numbers. I absolutely love it. Oklahoma City has scored 476 points off turnovers this playoffs, the most by a team in a single postseason since play-by-play tracking began in 1997. The Celtics held the previous record, 461, and Oklahoma City has another game to go, off and try and really extend that record out. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's just that they're an absolute menace to deal with in transition. They're really tough to deal with defensively. That feeds into the transition play. They're so good at just sprinting out and trying to get options. Like, this team's really tough. This team's really, really tough to deal with.
That SGA stat continued with it's the first since Kobe in 09 and one of 4 with Kobe, the Dream, and Michael Jordan. Those
Oh, that's insane.
yeah. 4th player in NBA history to score 30 plus points in 15 plus games over a playoff run. Kobe, Hakeem Olajuwon, Michael Jordan.
Yeah, like I'd be all for J-Dub, getting finals MVP. Like, I think he's played really well, but there's just no way you can do it. Shea has been incredible throughout the entire course of the playoffs to this point. I think J-Dub would have to go for, if J-Dub goes for like 45 or something in game 6, I think there will be a like recency conversation, because the people who vote on those awards, A, it's small sample size, but B, the people who vote on those awards like have to vote on it pretty quick. Honestly, like it's a little bit strange in that way.
Yeah.
So you could like get, caught up in the moment or something, but I think it's got to be Shea at this point.
Yeah, I agree. And he's had some good, there's been some defensive stuff at times, but like he's put up good, he's put up decent defensive numbers, which makes it a little like, I mean, he's averaging over 4 stocks per game. So it's a little bit better than good just in terms of disruption. The bounce back assist games today, I think helps like even solidify it even more. So
yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I think that's absolutely right. I mean, for Indiana, I do want to shout out Pascal Siakam here.
Yeah.
We probably haven't talked enough about how good he was in this game.
He really was.
The defense, he's flying everywhere. He's working, like the turnovers and the way he's reading the court. It's not great against how heavy pressure the defense is, but that's like the only thing you can complain about here. 28 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. He's everywhere in help defense, like everywhere in help defense against Indiana right now, or against Oklahoma City right now. The shot creation is massive. Getting to the foul line consistently. He is so special as a basketball player to me. He honestly, he like, I think that he's regarded. Where would you say Pascal Siakam is regarded as a player? Like, is he a top 30 player, top 20 player in the league? Like, coming into the playoffs, what would you have said?
By the general fan base?
By the like general public?
General public? Oh, no. I don't think most people would have him as would have had him as a top 30 player.
I don't even think it's close. He's like definitely a top 30 player.
Yeah, no, but, I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing. I'm not saying that you're saying that. I'm saying that like,
yeah,
I don't disagree that the public might not see him as a top 30 player. He is 100% a top 30 player in the league. I think he's probably a top 20 player in the league, if we're being honest.
I feel like I understood his game and his impact. It's opened my eyes even a little bit more. Even a game like tonight, I was like, God, he's so good. We talk about this Oklahoma City team that's so good defensively, and there's times where they really struggle to handle him, Sam. Like, they really struggle if they don't have the exact right matchup and guys in the right position. Like, they're running if you're getting OKC to run doubles at you, you're doing something right, because they have a lot of really good individual defenders. And as we highlighted earlier, he brings it on the defensive end as well. So I am with you that he has been insanely impressive. Even in a loss tonight, he was really impressive. And I think he's moved up my ranks throughout these playoffs as I've got a chance to really watch him even closer and appreciate him.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I've always kind of had him in that top 20 to top 25 bucket. I've just always been a huge fan of his game. I love how hard he makes it for the opposition, because he's such a mismatch nightmare. I love how hard he plays. That's the other thing that like goes way underrated. His motor never stops. He runs the court as well as any player in the league.
That's very true. Yeah. Watch how, maybe not in this series, but watch a regular season game next year and count how many times he outruns his opponent in transition, where they either start at the same spot or he's behind and then runs past them, because he is he's awesome in transition, and he can't just He'll outrun you. He'll also run down there and post you up and then, get a bucket on you. So
Yeah.
real versatility to his game.
Yeah, like he's probably the most anonymous, like multi-time All NBA player who's still a star in the NBA. You know what I mean? Like he's made All NBA in 2020 and 2022, and then last year, or no, in 2023, I'm sorry, he was 22nd in voting. Didn't really get any votes last year because he switched teams mid-year after the calamitous Toronto start for everybody, and then this year he got like a couple of votes, if I remember correctly. Not like anything crazy in terms of all NBA voting, but he was on the list, right? Like he was probably like 22nd or 23rd among players again. So yeah, I mean, we need to respect Pascal Siakam a little bit more. You just look at the list of guys that like were ahead of him in terms of players. I'll read off the players ahead of him that made All NBA, right? Or didn't make All NBA. I'm sorry. You definitely take him over Sabonis, right?
Mm-hmm.
You definitely take him over Darius Garland, right?
Yes.
You take him over Zubats?
So I think Siakam can obviously be the number 2 option on a title contender offensively. I don't know if I believe Zubac can be that. So I guess there would be a little bit of team construct, but I would say Siakam still, right?
I would take Siakam personally. Yes. Jaren Jackson Jr. is the one that I stopped and was like, oh, this is like a question. I think I would take him over Jaren for what it's worth, because I think he's a better shot creator than Jaren is. And I think Jaren is a better defender, but I think teams worry about Siakam way more on offense than they worry about Jaren. And I think Siakam still remains like pretty underrated defensively. Maybe not quite to that all defense level, but like probably a top 30-ish defender in the league, something like that. I think I would take Siakam in all honesty.
It's a fun conversation. My instant reaction would be Triple J. I think I've really come around on his offense, and especially in the opportunities where he's really gotten to play in that role whenever either one of Ja or Bane wasn't there, or, we talked a lot about his growth offensively. So that's a fun conversation though. That one's interesting. Sure.
And then Şengün, we both take him over Şengün right now, right?
Yeah, right now.
Yeah. Not I mean, Şengün has a real chance to get there at some point, but right now I'm definitely taking Siakam. Okay. We're going to spend the last 13 minutes. We're not going to go past an hour tonight. We're going to spend the last 13 minutes answering some questions. We've gotten some good ones in the comments. From Rachel, she asks, we've heard scenarios and haven't dropped the Spurs offseason preview yet. Might have to make some slight edits to that because I was kind of thinking KD might be traded by now, but seems like there aren't any great offers, to be honest with you, for KD right now, it feels like. I think if there was a great offer out there, KD would be traded. I think that's kind of that simple. But philosophically, would we trade for KD if we were the Spurs?
I
get like we didn't even answer that in the offseason preview that's recorded and coming out, I think, Wednesday.
Yeah. We didn't really dive in. I mean, we talked about other names. So I think it's the same thing that always comes down with KD is like, I'm not trading a bunch of my future for a 1 or 2 year window. So like that would be my philosophy, I guess, to answer the question is if I could get him at a price where, I mean, like I'm not trading Dylan Harper for him. I'm not trading Steph Castle for him. And so I understand the idea here. And I've talked about this, like you open the window with Wemby, sure. But I'm not doing anything that's going to jeopardize my future and what I need to truly pair with Wemby over the next 10 years.
Would you trade Sohan and 14? Plus you'd have to include Vassell in that deal, probably. Maybe you could do Barnes, Keldon, and Vassell, or no, I'm sorry, Barnes, Keldon, and Sohan. I think that money might get there as well.
So like that's where like now I'm like depth and stuff.
Like I think my answer to this is I think they're handling it the exact way they should handle it. I think that if they are the top bidder because the 14th overall pick and like some other stuff, if like Vassell and number 14 overall, plus you get off the Keldon deal, like if that's the best offer, great, then I'm all for it. But I just wouldn't overpay for it, I think, is the key.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. Like whenever you said 14 in Sohan, my immediate reaction was going to be yes. And then like I guess it depend on what money you had to use to match. Like that would be interesting to me.
Yeah.
But I'm keeping Castle. I'm keeping number 2. Like all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I don't even know how many future picks I would want to give up.
So no,
like,
we got into this talking about somebody. I don't remember which one it was, but because they did get rid of a few or 2 or whatever it was in the De'Aaron Fox trade, you got to be careful about like getting rid of, like that's the thing, right? You don't want a 2-year window. So if you trade too much and then you don't have enough to outbid or match OKC, Houston, whoever may be in on the next guy, if you really need to take a swing, you're jeopardizing your future. That's why I would be a little bit, I would slow play it.
Yeah. From Eric Olson, should the Hornets bring in a vet mentor to reset the culture this offseason, like a Chris Paul or Marcus Smart? Sure. I mean, it seems like Chris Paul wants to go out west again to be closer to his family. I think that's been reported at this point. Marcus Smart, like, I don't know if he's moving, to be honest with you. The thing about that is like Washington also, I think, enjoys having vet. Like I've gotten the impression that like Chris Middleton is kind of happy to play that role as well. I'm not saying that like Middleton's definitely not moving, but like I think Middleton's like pretty cool if he stays there the whole year. Like he liked the vibe of that group in Washington. So maybe you could do Marcus Smart if you wanted to. It'd be a nice fit with between LaMelo and Brandon for a year, right? But yes, I like the idea. I mean, they had Taj Gibson last year, right? Like, I think they're trying to do some of this stuff already for sure.
Having covered a team that's been through this for 4 years, something like this is my biggest takeaway was having real vets. And so like, that's what you have to ask is like Marcus Smart's availability coming off seasons where he played 20 games and 34 games. So making sure he'd be available, but available vets and floor spacing. Like you get stuff like that so you can really learn or in like on the defensive end, like a big that can like play drop coverage that like is going to communicate and help your young guys understand scheme and where to be and stuff like that. You know, there's a few of those things I would prioritize if I was in the front office of a rebuilding team, just so you can truly learn about your young players. Because when you don't have those things, not only do you lose, you don't collect any data. And those are wasted years. And I watched multiple of those for the Pistons, and they were truly wasted years. Not because they won 14 games, but because in those 14 games, because they were so bad, there was zero data collection on what any of those guys were capable of because they didn't prioritize things like this. So I think it's a great idea, Eric.
From Ethan Salter, how would you feel about Oklahoma City trading for a more dynamic sixth man? Malik Monk or Kobe White come to mind as options, but Kobe would be expensive. Sure, I think is my answer. It just can only be a 1-year deal is the thing. Because they have J-Dub and Chet getting expensive here. And honestly, if I'm them, if I'm trying to fill this role, I might, and I'm not saying that they're going to do this. Like, I don't know what their draft plans are. This guy actually like doesn't really fit like the typical Oklahoma City MO. I mean, if I was them, I might just take Jace Richardson at 15 if this is a hole I'm trying to fill. The other thing is that like you have to remember they have a real influx of ball handling coming next year too, potentially with Nikola Topic. Who they drafted last year at number 11 or 12, if memory serves. And AJ Mitchell, hopefully will be a year older, able to play in games like this a little bit more consistently, given that he's a rookie. So I'm not opposed, but I don't know that it's a need either.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I understand the idea here. But yeah, probably depends on what they think about with Topic and what they can get in the draft. And like you said, like Monk is on, I think 3 more years on his deal at decent money. And even as it was mentioned in the question, Kobe's about to get paid. I mean, I guess you could go get 1 year of Kobe, right? I think 1 more year on the good deal for Kobe White. So I guess maybe something like that would make sense if then you weren't going to be the team that paid him. But then you obviously have to be smart about what you give up.
Yeah. From Big Mike, given the fact that Isaiah Joe has been largely unplayable in the postseason, do you think the Thunder try to use him to get a postseason playable guy? Obviously, the Thunder would need to add. I was kind of thinking about that. Like, is there a Isaiah Joe, Usman Jang in number 15 for Malik Monk deal out there or something like that? It's going to be really hard to have the 15 million or the 18 million that Monk is owed on the books long term. I think to me, it's, I'm almost looking to if this is the route I'm going, maybe like pop Isaiah Joe into like somebody's trade exception while getting a, different player back in some way, like almost like a 1-for-1 deal that might be a little bit less expensive long term. I don't know that I have like an idea off the top of my head. I mean, if the Pistons were to lose Malik Beasley, that would be kind of a fun idea for them, I think, actually.
Yeah. No, I mean, my mind went there right away as well. And I'm sure, like I said, there's there's probably some young teams like we talked about a little bit ago that could use this type of floor spacing as well, like the Wizards or something like, we went through the mock draft the other day and we traded away Kispert to get Ace Bailey. And then we drafted Liam McNeely to make sure we got some influx of 3-point shooting and floor spacing. So some of those teams like that are still rebuilding and need some floor spacing to give room for their young guys to operate, I think you can make sense there as well.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, I'm just like trying to think out loud. Like, is there any way that would the Timberwolves do Isaiah Joe for Jalen Clark or something like that? And like a pick or I don't know. Like, I'm just trying, would they do Isaiah Joe for Jalen Clark in number 31 or something?
What's crazy is Isaiah Joe is such a more established NBA player, but I think we both know what we think Jalen Clark is defensively.
I love Jalen Clark.
This is hard for me because I love Isaiah Joe, and I've had to say multiple times throughout these playoffs that he probably shouldn't be on the court, and it breaks my heart.
Yeah,
man, it's crazy. It's crazy. The NBA is amazing because of this. Like, you get into the playoffs and things change, and it really exposes what guys are capable of and what they aren't, and then how valuable they end up being on certain teams. I think Isaiah Joe has value in the NBA for teams and can still go there and contribute.
Yeah, I think that's right. Another meta question on draft value. We see stuff like can't take a non-shot creator in the top 10, but what does the 7th best player in a draft on average look like? What does the 3rd best guy in a draft on average, or what is the 3rd best guy on a good team? I kind of regret putting this question up here. Maybe this is a longer episode, honestly. What is draft value and what does it mean? So I don't agree with the idea that you can't take a non-shot creator in the top 10. Like, that's just kind of foolhardy to me. Like, think about how many guys are actual like shot creators that move the needle in the NBA. There really aren't that many of them, in all honesty. So if you can get like a great play finisher, if you can get like a real 3-and-D guy that you have confidence is a great 3-and-D guy, I'm kind of all for it, right? In terms of like, what does the X best player in a draft look like, right? What does the 8th best player in a draft look like? I mean, you go back to 2018, right? It's probably something like, this is a great draft. It's probably something in the ballpark of DeAndre Ayton, Mitchell Robinson, Wendell Carter Jr., Dante DiVincenzo, like somewhere in that ballpark. 2019, it's this is a worse draft, so I would say it's probably like Brandon Clark, Kobe White, PJ Washington, like, DeAndre Hunter, like, maybe Nikhil Alexander Walker is kind of in that mix. Go back to 2017, which is also a pretty strong draft. A little bit better. You're talking like a John Collins, Josh Hart, maybe like Dylan Brooks, Lonzo pre-injury kind of vibe. So like that might kind of give you this is probably just a whole video or like a whole podcast for us to do at some point, Bryce. But like, I hope that kind of gives a vibe at least of what it is.
It is kind of fun to go and look and see like how many guys actually end up being rotation players in a class and those different things. My quick answer, runner dude, is I just think every draft is different. Like, because every class has different prospects. Like we've seen it over the last 3. We went generational Victor Wembanyama prospect with 2 high-level prospects in Brandon Miller and Scoot Henderson, and not to mention the Thompson twins and some other good ones, to then the next year it was Alex Sarr, Zach Reese-Shea, like Reed Shepard, like interesting guys. But like the number 1 pick that year, you weren't going to get what looked like a number 1 pick that season. And then now we come back this year and we have a generational-ish prospect in Cooper Flagg, a high-level one in Dylan Harper. And then, as Sam and I have talked about multiple times, it's interesting after that, but it's not crazy. And so I think just every class is a little bit different. And I think that's why you can't get stuck in, oh, we're drafting at 5, we should be drafting for upside. I'm like, well, then you may be taking a 1% swing at number 5 if that's what you think. So I think that's where you could get yourself in trouble. If I'm not saying you think this, runner dude, but if a team caught themselves in, this is what a number 4 pick should look like, or this is the upside of a number 4 pick, as opposed to just taking the 4th best prospect, no matter what that means in that class.
From Dirty Dancer, am I crazy to think Boston without Tatum is probably better than Miami with KD? So as rosters are currently constructed, no, but the thing is that I think Boston is pretty clearly going to try and get off some money here.
Yeah.
Like if I'm them, I'm trying to get all the way under the tax personally. Now that is a crazy amount of money. They have to lose like 50 million from the payroll to do that. Or I think it might be 40 actually in order to do that. But at the very least, I would expect that they try to get under the second apron pretty aggressively, and maybe even the first apron pretty aggressively. So I think that it'd be unlikely, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's just the assumption that Boston's going to take a gap year by trading off some of the money to, because you can this year. Of course, if they just try to run it back with this roster, that's still a decent, talented, especially if Porzingis was healthy.
Yeah. All right. Final question here. This is a Bryce specific question.
Uh-oh.
What are Bryce's lawn care secrets from Lawrence? Just give me 2 tips here.
Tips? I mean, I water it consistently. I fertilize it consistently. I put gypsum down consistently. I mow it every week. We talked about changing the lines, right? You have to change the direction you mow. So lateral, vertical, diagonal, 4 different directions. Weed eat, bag. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I keep it pretty simple. I'm just very consistent and structured with it. And I do dump a little bit of money into my yard for it to look the way I want it to look.
I love it. Okay.
I used to keep kids off the lawn, but
yeah, it's psychotic, Bryce.
I
Please
lost
don't do that.
I lost it. No, so the funny thing is they don't walk through the front yard like very much. Like they know they're supposed to not walk on the front yard. So they'll walk around through the driveway and stuff like that. I gave up on the backyard. They play baseball. It's good. It's good. But
you have to let the kids go out in the yard and play.
I know. I gave in.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Bryce, we got to get out of here. Tell the people where they can find the work. Tell the people what's going on.
Yeah, at Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky, Motor City Hoops Substack. Got a bunch of different video breakdowns on NBA draft prospects at the end of the first, top of the second. Have some offseason acquisition video breakdowns. I finally just said, screw it. I did a Trey Murphy, the third one today, just because Pistons fans were talking about it. I assume Trey Murphy's not actually going to get traded, but if you think your team might trade for Trey Murphy, or if you're a Pelicans fan, you can go watch that, see what I had to say about him. Pistons Pulse podcast, which we will have a very special guest on Tuesday at 9:30 Eastern live. The Sam Vecenie will be joining to talk Detroit Pistons basketball.
Which, by the way, we can talk about this offline, but my schedule has opened up, so we might be able to go a little bit earlier than what you're expecting.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
So,
and the Game Theory podcast with the Sam Vecenie.
Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. I'll have a couple things coming later this week. I actually have to write whenever we get off the line here. Top 20 prospects of the last 10 years in the draft is something I'm working on right now, which is always fun. That's all we got here. Go hit the subscribe button. We're up over 46,000 YouTube subscribers. We appreciate you guys immensely for coming and hanging out with us every time that we do one of these things. So fun. We're having a blast doing this thing. Let's keep it going in the way that we have throughout the playoffs. Certainly the offseason will be a crazy ride. We are so immensely appreciative of everybody for coming and hitting that subscribe button. Keep doing it over on the podcast feed. Keep doing it over on the YouTube channel. Hit the 5-star button, hit the like button, whatever you can to support the show. We are so grateful for you guys. We will be back in a couple of days. I don't know when exactly, at the very least for Game 6. Not totally sure yet of the plans beyond that, but that's where we're at. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.